Good afternoon, Mr. President and Chairman of the Governing Council.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good
It's 3
afternoon,
o'clock.
gentlemen.
Good afternoon, leaders on this call. We are starting now. Shall we all rise as we take the national anthem? May Nigeria be blessed indeed. May we be seated, please. Mr. President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gubri, FCIPM, the Vice President of our Institute, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, MCIPM, the National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbonu, MCIPM, Registrar Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, one of our panelists today, the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNLI, the elected members, council members here present, the governing council members on this call, the members of our great institute, fellows on this call, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues from the HQ, good afternoon. Welcome to the August edition of the Cipm You, holding today, August 28, 2024. Coincidentally, August 28 is my birthday. You're all welcome. At this point, we'd like to welcome our, okay. Shall we all stand with the permission of Mr. President and Chairman of the Governing Council as we take the Institute's Code of Conduct? Shall we rise? You repeat after me. And when you get to where you have I, you insert your name as a member of the Institute. And if you are not a member of the Institute, we know you don't become a member of the Institute by taking this Code of Conduct. Repeat after me. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria,
as the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria,
as the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria,
is committed to the highest possible standards of professional conduct,
is committed to the highest possible standard of professional conduct
and competency among its members.
and competency among its members.
Therefore, as a member of the Institute,
Therefore, as a member of the Institute,
I, Benga Samuel Odetunde,
I, Chidi Obiejesi, MCIPM,
pledge that I shall at all
pledge that I shall at all times
carry out my duties and responsibilities
carry out my duties and
with
responsibilities
integrity and diligence, demonstrate competence and ethical behavior
demonstrate competence and ethical behavior
in all my business, professional, and personal activities,
in all my business, professional, and personal activities,
respect the laws of the land,
respect the laws of the land,
promote, encourage, and emplace acceptable processes
promote, encourage, and emplace acceptable processes
and procedure in the practice of human resource management
and procedures in the practice of human resource management
within my sphere of influence.
within my sphere of influence.
Endeavor to make personal decisions
Endeavor to make personal
after
decisions
considering all options,
after considering all options,
of which resignation may be one,
of which resignation may be one,
in defense of this code of conduct,
in defense of this code of conduct,
where there are conflicts between my professional obligations
where there are conflicts between my professional obligations
and the expectations of my job role.
and the expectations of my job roles.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You may be seated. At this point, I would like to hand over to our amiable moderator of today. Okay. Okay. So I will, please pardon my mistake. I would like to invite the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gruber, FCIPM, ably represented by the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Justina Obiejesi, to take the opening remarks. Mr. President, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gbenga today. And let me, on behalf of the President and leadership, say happy birthday to you. We pray for showers of blessing upon you today and always. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to welcome you on behalf of the President and Chairman of Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gruber. I would like to use this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the esteemed individuals attending this event. And let me start from the Vice President, Chidi Obiejesi, who is speaking on behalf of the President. I hope you know I'm speaking on behalf of the President. So I will also be welcoming the National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbon, MCIPM, our Registrar CEO, who coincidentally is also a member of our panelists, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, pardon me, FCIPM, the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, our distinguished elected council members, some of whom are already here, and fellows of our great institute, esteemed members of our institute, who are also here attending this program. I would like to use this opportunity also to take a moment to express our deep appreciation to you all, our distinguished panelists, who have taken out their time to be here, and our moderator as well. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us here today and to share your wealth of experience and knowledge with us. I assure you all, distinguished delegates and attendees at this program, that our guests are fully prepared to help us hone our skills, to provide us insights and practical steps and answers to our questions. Thank you all for joining. Let me start by thanking our own Registrar CEO. Thank you for taking our time to be here, and I'm sure we are going to have a great time having you here as our panelists. I will also appreciate the Public Relations Officer of Lagos State Police Command, Mr. Onde Benjamin, ACIPM. He is also a member of our great institute, and we are happy to have you here, sir. Let me appreciate also Mrs. Ngozi Mariam Arinze, LLB, LLM, a member of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, Lagos State Branch. She is also part of our panelists. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. And the last but not the least, our own distinguished moderator, Mr. Ismail Ganiu, who is the acting head of HR and admin at Right Foods Limited. Can we please celebrate these distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have taken out time to discuss this interesting topic with us here today? Audience, let's celebrate them, please. To all our distinguished guests here today, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all, and I say good afternoon. It is a privilege to welcome you all here on behalf of the leadership and council of our institute. Welcoming you to this August occasion happening in August, the Cipm You August edition. A platform that we have deliberately dedicated to discussing critical and relevant issues. This platform is also dedicated to keep our members informed of the latest trends and ensure that we continuously gain knowledge and share knowledge among ourselves and our professional colleagues. Today's topic strikes at the heart of our responsibilities as people managers. It was actually selected due to its importance and the urgent need to address it comprehensively and propose visible solutions. As professionals, starts with the stewardship of human capital. We are all too aware that the workplace is more than just a setting for productivity and economic activities. It is a space where people spend a significant portion of their life, and it should be a place of safety, a place of dignity, and a place of respect. Yet, the alarming statistics speak for itself. According to research involving 722 respondents, it was found that 64% of men and 51% of women reported being bullied at work. Even more concerning is that nearly 60% of employees in the workplace reported that they have either seen or witnessed superiors and supervisors shouting or raising their voices at a colleague in the workplace. The same research also indicates that women experience sexual harassment more frequently than men, with over 55% of women reporting that they have either experienced or personally witnessed sexual harassment, compared to 43% of men who reported similar experiences. These figures are not just numbers. They represent the lived experiences of individuals whose potential is stifled by an environment of fear and disrespect. They serve for us as a stark reminder that we must take decisive action to create workplaces that every individual feels safe, valued, and able to perform at their best possible. It is therefore the reason we are here today. As you can be assured that today's session will delve into the multifaceted impacts of harassment, bullying, and violence in the workplace. These are issues that not only undermine employee well-being, but also erode organizational culture and performance. I can assure you all that our distinguished speakers will provide insight on how we can confront these challenges head-on and foster a work environment that prioritizes respect, support, and inclusion. Please let us be reminded of our collective responsibility as leaders and HR professionals to set As leaders, as HR professionals, it is incumbent upon us to set the standard for behavior in our organization, to implement policies that protect our employees, and to cultivate a culture that stands firmly against any form of harassment and bullying. We, as people managers, must exemplify professionalism free from bullying, violence, and sexual harassment, ensuring also that we are not contributing to the very issues we seek to eliminate in our workplaces. I encourage each of us to take the lessons from today's discussion back to our organizations and to be the change makers that our workplaces so desperately need. Thank you all for your commitment to create better workplaces. Let us continue to work together towards a future where all employees can thrive in an environment of respect, of support, and of dignity. I want to thank you all once more, and I wish us all a productive and enlightening sessions. Long live to CIPM. Long live to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And at CIPM, we deliver value through people. Thank you very much, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Madam VP,
Thank
for
you,
that
ma'am.
research-based opening remarks. At this point, I would like to hand over the drive of the affair of this program to our moderator, the amiable moderator, Ismail Ganiyu, MCIPM, Acting Head, HR and Admin, Right Food. Over to you.
Thank you very much, our able Deputy Registrar and the celebrant of today's birthday. We appreciate you, we celebrate you. Thank you, everyone, distinguished fellows of the institutes, and also our president and chairman of council, ably represented by the vice president, Mrs. Obedisi. I think that was a wonderful opening remarks, and I think it has said it all, actually. So the time is fast spent. Distinguished colleagues on the call, I'm sure we are ready to set the ball rolling, and I'm sure my panelists are ably ready for all of us in terms of getting to unravel this topic of ours today, because it's something that is dear to the hearts of any living entity, whether a company, a society, or the global space. So the topic of discussion is Beyond the Workplace, unpacking the impact of harassment, bullying, violence on employee performance and well-being. So our distinguished panelists are ready for us, and they will be attempting some of the burning questions that are in this very loaded topic of ours. So without much ado, I'll just say the ball rolling first. I think this is a topic that is also dear to me, because when I was growing up, I now get to realize that I was being bullied, I was being harassed, and there was violence against me, collectively, not only in the school, also at home. In almost every facet, I tend to experience it, because there was this lady that was sitting beside me in my primary school. She always just harassed. When she comes around, she'll just ask me to stand up from my seat, and I would be so scared. I'll just leave. And gradually, this built into my psyche. And I tend to recollect how bad it was not to be able to have one's mind. And if one look at the multiplier effect of this, it's so much that you can't quantify. But I won't want to take over the discussion. Our panelists will be making a very, very judicious discussion on this. So our registrar, CEO of the institutes, Mrs. Arinze, and also Mr. Benjamin, our police PRO. So let's keep the ball rolling. I'll start with our registrar, CEO. There's this question that I want just to unravel the concepts. From your own professional viewpoint, what do you consider as harassment, bullying, and violence?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm feeling harassed by my team members here already. They said this is their one-time opportunity to harass me. So my moderator, if I'm not saying what makes sense, my team are harassing me here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here today, and this is quite a topical issue, and I'm glad that the Vice President reeled off some statistics surrounding bullying, harassment, and violence in the workplace. And when we talk about harassment, we are actually referring to the fact that we have unwanted, unwelcome behavior, comments, actions, which could be considered hostile. And moderator mentioned just now that as a child, he now realized that he was bullied or he was harassed. I think growing up as well, there were certain experiences we may have gone through, whether on a personal level, even in school, that would consider to be harassment because of either derogatory remarks being made towards us, non-verbal gestures, physical unwanted touching. These are all forms of harassment. And a lot of this can be attributed to sometimes gender issues, racial issues, ethnic issues, and disability. So harassment could occur for a variety of reasons, which I've just listed. And it is important as individuals and as HR practitioners that we're very aware. I think sometimes, and I've said this, a lot of times is about self-awareness. At one point or the other, I'm sure everyone here may have had instances where you think, actually, my conduct at that point in time can be deemed to be harassment because of that remark that I made inadvertently. And it wasn't intentional, but it came out in that format and it was taken as harassment. In terms of bullying, that's actually like a power dynamic situation where individuals on the receiving side would feel there is a repeated intentional behavior to hurt, to intimidate the individual. That's the recipient of the behavior. And again, it could be verbal. It could be in form of what is said. It could be physical, as in gestures, the movements. When we say the verbal, it could be the shouting. Sometimes we don't even regard shouting as bullying. I have to trace it back for Nigeria in terms of cultural background, because in this situation, sometimes we talk a lot with raised voices and we don't necessarily deem it as shouting, but actually in another culture, once your voice is raised, you're deemed to be aggressive, and that aggression is seen and perceived as bullying. And so I think there are cultural nuances as well that could apply here, especially as we're working in a global environment, and that could be deemed to be a form of bullying. In terms of violence, we're talking about physical violence, we talk about force, we talk about aggression, and this is where assault, we talk about battery. This is where issues like sexual harassment would come in, where an individual is subjected to unwanted, not what's the word now? I'm trying to consensual, non-consensual activity. And that is a form, again, that we see happening more and more in the workplace. So it's interesting. I was looking at what the ILO said in 2024 February about 1 in 5 people globally have identified with the fact they've either been bullied, harassed, or had a form of violence against them. And that is quite a high statistics to work with. So I think for us, it's again, the fact that we look at those statistics and we say, are they actually a reality? Do they actually exist? And I would even think it's even bigger and larger than that. Because there are cases of underreporting. There are cases of people where they're not actually bold enough to stand up and actually be bold enough to say, this is what I'm going through and I need help, I need support. So I think for some of the statistics we'll be talking about, or actually we'll be sharing with you today, some of that would reveal the fact that we are here today because we are also advocating for individuals that come under your area of responsibilities to be encouraged to speak up, speak out when they are going through any form of bullying, harassment, or violence in the workplace. And just to mention as well, some of this can go back to the home as well. We can take it back to some of this coming from our backgrounds. Sometimes the aggression at home, the trauma at home, the stress at home, we bring that to the workplace.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank
my able registrar. I mean, I have to cut in there because yes, you've actually dealt with that concept so much, and it's awesome. It's actually very beautiful. Thank you for elucidating on the topic and also sharing some vivid examples and statistics. I would agree with you that it's much bigger than this, and even if we're to look at the statistics, in reality, we should be having more than 90% of people being bullied or harassed, even 100%, if not that, one way or another, based on the definition of the concepts. So I would like to go to our lawyer in the house, Mrs. Arinze. Why do people resort to harassment, violence, and bullying?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would first of all want to appreciate CIPM for taking time to do this webinar and for choosing this particular topic. It shows that the well-being of personnel is really in your top list. That being said, sometimes one begins to wonder, why would people necessarily go into bullying, harassment, and exerting forms of violence on another? The reasons are not being far-fetched. Some persons, top on my list of these reasons is power dynamics, like Ms. Tony said. Or what I would call rather, show of power. Some persons think that the only way that their demands can be met is by exerting some form of force through bullying, harassment, or exerting violence on another. So to them, to the perpetrators of such acts, their belief system is, for me to get what I want, I have to coerce such person, either directly or indirectly, either through my actions or inactions. So that's the only language such persons understand is the word coercion, is the word intimidation. To them, they believe that people can only respect them when they use what they have to subdue such person to do what they want. And another reason for me could also be socio-cultural norms. In this part of the world, men assume the position of lords. They believe that they should lord over women, they should lord over even their fellow men in some affairs. That being said, in an African home, you would see that a husband would necessarily want the wife to do every bidding of his. To them, a woman is meant to be seen and not heard. That also applies in the workplace. So the men, they have that standpoint is there in them, that for them, the women in workplace should respect them. It comes in the form of bullying. We are not talking about those in strategic positions, the executive, even fellow colleagues, the employees on the same level. Being a man alone to them gives them that leverage that they are far above the females. So you could see that play out both at home and also in the at workplaces. And also there is this issue with age. It also has to do with culture. The belief system that if I'm older than you, you have to respect me. So what people do is, even those who are older in the office, they naturally would want their biddings to be done based on the age factor. All this points out that our society, the social context, believe that there are some certain edges that those who either have the power, those who are older, and some other dynamics that would make them to believe that they are superior than others. Then there's also the issue of self-entitlement. What do I mean by self-entitlement? People believe that they're entitled to their own standpoint, to their own belief. And that plays out where, like, for instance, someone like myself, I'm from the Igbo descent. I wouldn't necessarily want to intermingle myself with somebody who is not of my own, my ethnicity. So some persons have that mindset. I'm using myself as an instance. Some persons have that mindset, and that plays out in how they deal with others. They tend to bully others who are not from the same background, be it age, sex, and otherwise. Aside these factors, which I think is somehow worrisome, there are some other reasons which, though not worrisome, but they are quite understandable. I say that they are understandable to the extent that when you look at such factors, you could see that the perpetrators of such acts lack the willingness to understand what they are doing. For instance, for someone that has suffered anxiety or depression, or someone suffering from post-stress traumatic disorder, it somehow plays out on how the person behaves in the society at large, both at workplace. For such person, the mental status makes that person incapable of knowing what he or she is doing. So though it's worrisome, but it's quite understandable. Then there is this other one that has to do with the mental health. The upbringing. Mrs. Tony made mention of that. From the social context, the orientation we have from home also play a very key role in how we behave with others. The fact that a child, you can't give what you don't have, and you can't build nothing on something.
Thank you very much. And if I allow you, you're going to do much more justice to that question. But thank you very much. I think he's well explained in terms of why people resort to that social background, in terms of the passion to lord it over, and that the focus on power over others, and also other factors that you mentioned. So what that will lead me to this question that I will be asking the police PRO, Mr. Benjamin. So are there specific circumstances or events that trigger harassment, bullying, and violence? Maybe you want to share with us some of these circumstances or events.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on this program, and I say very good afternoon to everyone. So largely, I would say it's a cultural thing. And when I say culture, I mean work culture, work environment. Of course, stemming from the home culture, the societal culture. So there might be no specific events per se. Some people have talked about power play, which I agree. But most times, it's because the work culture allows it. So if we talk about power play, we talk about age. Older people always want to lord it over you. All of those things that have been identified, it's because of work culture. So the basic thing is to ensure that there is a healthy work culture. I'll use myself as an example. But here in Nigeria, it's a common sight for my boss to use harsh words. So you are very stupid. Is this what I asked you to do? And nobody has ever complained about it. I just go and do it. I don't see it as bullying. I don't see it as harassment. And if I tell somebody that, oh, my boss said I was stupid, they'll be like, ah, that's even better now. He has not called you foolish before. He has not called you an idiot before. So everybody has come to accept it. But when I applied to go for United Nations peacekeeping in Sudan, the UN had to, after I qualified, they said, okay, now you have qualified. But before you start working with us, you need to take this particular course. I did a course. I remember, though it's more of sexual harassment. But the point is, I did a course in sexual exploitation and harassment. Sexual exploitation and abuse. Yes, I remember. We call it SEA, sexual exploitation and abuse. Then the second one, SHA, sexual harassment and abuse. Now they made us understand the things that constitute harassment, and they made us know they would not condone such. And we had to pass the exam. So I'm talking about work culture. The UN never joked with it. So they made us write the exam. If you fail, you have to do it again. And we passed and we went. I was in Sudan, and they were so strict about it. The moment you are guilty of harassment, you are going back to your country the next day. So it made everybody sit up. There was no harassment. So by and large, to answer your question, it's about work culture. If people know that if I harass this person and the person reports me, I'll be losing my job, then I think people will sit up and such wouldn't happen. So largely work culture. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Largely work culture. If you are able to ensure that no one does that and go unpunished, then you can ensure that the work culture is perfect enough. So I'll go to this next question. So writing on that, for you too. There's this okay, maybe I should just go to Mrs. Arinze. Are there any extant laws or institutional framework and legal remedies in place to protect victims of harassment, bullying, and violence? And if there are, how effective are these laws, considering Nigerian factor?
Okay, the government or rather the Nigerian government is saddled with the responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of its citizens. That being said, there are various laws, federal laws and state laws that have been enacted that provides for the offenses of bullying, harassment, and violence. Violence can come in different shapes: gender-based violence, domestic violence, sexual violence. But the most paramount of all this is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended 2023. First and foremost, Section 6 of the Constitution avails everybody, inclusive of a victim of such vices, the right to be heard in court. And also, the state constitution also provides for establishment of police force and other security agencies. This is in order to be able to combat issues that might arise in the society, because the law is meant to be obeyed and the law is meant for humans. And there's this legal maxim, the ubi jus remedium maxim, that says where there is a legal right, there is a legal remedy. So the Constitution at all times has, the government at all times has provided for laws. Like I said, the most paramount of all is the Constitution. At all times, these vices are being perpetrated, is in stark violation of the fundamental rights of the victims, particularly Section 34, which is right to dignity of person, that no person is to be subjected to inhuman degrading treatment, and the fact that we are humans and whatever that are to be done to humans should be in a dignified way. And also Section 42 of the Constitution, which gives you right against all manner of discrimination. In other words, you are not to be discriminated against your sex, against your religion, against your ethnicity. There are other provisions, federal laws, which also, some other federal laws like the Criminal Code which is applicable to the southern states, and the penal code applicable to the northern states, which provides for indecent assault and sexual assault. Then there's this very all-encompassing law, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015, very well encompassing in the sense that the sexual violence, domestic violence, violence of all kinds, the commencement section of that law provides that the law is meant to prohibit all manner of violences, both in private and public sector. Then you also have the Labor Act. The Labor Act is also handy in dealing with issues of harassment, bullying at workplace. But it's very instructive to note that the Labor Act, which is the major law that defines the relationship at workplace, did not provide or did not make the sexual harassment, make provision for sexual harassment. But Section 254C1G of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Constitution of Nigeria, empowers the National Industrial Court to decide on cases that has to do with discrimination at work and sexual harassment. There's other state laws.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And more importantly, with respect to online bullying, the Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Act of 2015 is very instructive. Therein, the penalty is even more far than other laws. At any time there is a contravention, and at any time there is contravention, the imprisonment the imprisonment ranges from 10 years imprisonment, and for fine is 10 million, 25 million, yes, 25 million for bullying that has to do with person. Then for bullying with threat to property, the fine is 15 million. So you could see now the government is taking note of what is happening, and they are now making decisive legislations. We hope to see more. And there are also judicial authorities that are a plethora of cases that have shown that the courts, especially the National Industrial Courts, means business with respect to harassment, especially with sexual harassment at workplaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that information. I think our audience are getting to know much more about what the law says about harassment, bullying, and violence, and they can speak up and fight for their rights. I would from writing from that, in terms of how effective are we able to ensure that perpetrators of such acts are brought to book? And that will lead me to this question to the police PRO, Mr. Benjamin. Some have actually argued that the prevalence of harassment, bullying, and violence everywhere is because perpetrators go unpunished. Some even say that police also harasses. So how will they be able to get justice from there? So the question here is about how can this be addressed in terms of some arguing that perpetrators of such acts do go unpunished?
Okay, thank you very much. The issues here, in a case where police is involved, and number one, sometimes the organization is not cooperating. When we say, okay, there's a complainant, he has written his or her statements to complain about maybe violence against him or bullying, which can also fall under assault, if it falls under assault. And you write to the organization to release the person involved. Oh, your MD has been accused of this. We need him to come say his side of the story. I see that sometimes organizations don't really cooperate. They don't want to release the person, making us resort to waiting for the person outside the office or going to pick him up at home and all that. So number one, we always have that, we usually have that problem. Then another problem we often have is by the time you take this case to court, the victim, for one reason or the other, maybe he has been bullied again, I don't know, or he has been paid off, would either not show up in court or would show up and he's not talking convincingly. And in the court, it's not what you know, but what you can prove beyond reasonable doubt. So most times we find out that victims don't testify, and the case gets thrown out. Or even if it's not thrown out, it's so watered down that the person is given just very light punishment. So those are the issues we face. And it's better to prevent. Prevention is actually better. So it's actually advisable that organizations should have strong internal policies and mechanisms that makes it such that the moment such is reported against you, before you even go to court, before you even go to the police, maybe you are losing your job. So I think that's better. But to answer your question directly, lack of cooperation on the part of organizations and compromise of suspects, of victims, they are compromised such that they don't even appear in court sometimes. They'll just say, okay, you know what, I leave it to God. And that way the person walks free. And if people walk free, then the same thing will keep happening. So we need to ensure that we see it through so that it serves as deterrence to others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In this part of the world, we always leave everything to God. We don't want to allow something to come in a way. Maybe because they're also not safe. And that's why I would go to this question on protection. What assurance of non-repercussion does victim of workplace harassment, bullying, and violence have if cases are reported to HR, for instance? So this question will go to our able registrar. What assurance of no repercussion?
Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, I should say that as HR professionals, we have a duty of care towards employees, and that should be a focal point. And that's one of the things we need to concentrate on today. It's easy for us to want to say or condone, dependent on who is reporting or making allegations of bullying, harassment, or violence in the workplace. Sometimes, for a variety of reasons, we would sometimes condone, which is not acceptable and is not what CIPM would encourage or tolerate if it's reported to us. And we have to be able to support HR professionals to ensure that they're bold. Again, I come back to the word of being bold and being able to make a stand and be counted. So if you have a case of or an allegation of bullying, harassment, or violence in the workplace reported to you as the HR professional, what should you do? Number one, confidentiality is very, very key. The individual making the report to you is of the opinion that I've come to talk to you in a safe environment, and that whatever I say to you as the HR professional, you'd not divulge that, but you'd have a commitment to look into the matter being reported. You have a duty, and we have a duty as HR professionals to ensure that we conduct investigations. And this is where policies and procedures come in very strongly as well. I'm sure for a lot of our participants here, you would have your bullying and harassment policies, violence in the workplace policies, and you'd have avenues by which you actually take the individuals concerned through that process. You're committed, and you have actually, for those that are members of CIPM, signed up to the fact that you would be honorable and you will do what is right in terms of ensuring that you protect those within your care, and those employees come within your care. One of the assurances you would have to give, aside from taking them through the process, the policies, the procedures, ensuring that investigation is done, they're confident in you as the HR professional, that with coming to you as that professional, there'll be no retaliation. A lot of times, I mentioned before, why people don't speak up and speak out is for repercussions. It's for what would happen to me if I actually do speak up. Again, it's for how would I be tainted, or what would happen to my integrity, dependent on whether we're talking of bullying, harassment, violence, sexual harassment is one particular case that I know that individuals are very reluctant, women, men, to come forward and report. And it happens in the workplace. And so as HR professionals, we have that duty to ensure that we give that confidence and we're able to portray to the employees that we are in that position of supporting, of ensuring that we're committed to that support and ensuring that we see that case through. Whether, I mean, in some cases, it could actually become criminal charges against the alleged perpetrator. So are we sure that we're committed as HR professionals and practitioners to also see that through? And then we talk of support, we talk of resources. What support would be in place for individuals who have alleged that there is a case of bullying, there is a case of harassment or violence in the workplace? What support and resources do we have in place as employers of labor? We have employee assistance programs. How do we use that? Dependent on what the individual is coming up with, we might have to look at the fact that they would need help in terms of counseling. It is a very, for them, they are, and I would say this, and I always say this in previous cases that I've had to deal with, the allegations are actually from taken seriously from the person alleging. So it's not the person against whom the allegation is being made, it's the person that is making the allegation. So it's always taken when we go through cases of bullying, harassment in the workplace, we take it from the alleged, as the person making the allegation. So that support actually weighs in a lot more towards that individual. So as HR individuals, as HR professionals, what support do we have in place to ensure that we actually provide to those individuals the fact that they can come back to you, they can access counseling, they can access medical care. I mean, there are cases of rapes that have been alleged. What have we done as the HR people in that case? Timely response. Again, we have cases dragging on and on. I've sat on cases in the past and I've said to myself, this is a delay tactic that is being experienced here. We're trying not to deal with the matter, so we're not being timely in how we're responding to the situation as well. And then I've also mentioned about victim-centered. So I've talked about the perpetrator, I've talked about the person that is making the allegation and who we give that and how we give that support. Then legal protection as well. I also mentioned about it could actually be a criminal case, dependent on what we're dealing with. If there's allegation of rape, as for instance, it's not just what would sit back in the office and say we're protecting the image of the organization. I think it can even get worse for the organization. When cases are decided at the industrial courts, we would normally have that publicize the outcome and would have compensatory awards, damages, for instance, if we're not talking about the criminal courts. But what I want HR professionals here to take away today again, which I'm sure most of you will be aware of, is the fact that it goes beyond the compensatory awards in some cases of bullying, harassment, if it's not criminal. It's also the reputational damage to the organization. So how would I reading about a case of Oluwatoyin versus XYZ, wanting to come into that organization to work or be employed, read a case about that organization when I'm doing my research and find that they've had a case alleged against them. They were found not to have acted appropriately and in accordance with the policies and procedures in how investigation has been carried out in a fair manner. I would not want to work for an organization like that because I'll be thinking about my well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, everything that pertains to the fact that I'm coming into work and I want to work in a safe and secure environment. So remember, under occupational health and safety as well, we have that duty of care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. Now, I'm going to drill down on your responses. So now, some people feel that HR works for management and they dance to the tune of what management or board says. So now, what would you say, how would you advise on if such allegations of bullying, harassment and violence is leveled against high-ranking officers of the organizations, more or less like the MD CEO or even the chairman. Well, I've seen instances where such was actually perpetrated by the MD, sexual harassment, and HR couldn't do anything. So in a nutshell, how would you advise HR practitioners and professionals to handle cases against the high-ranking officers of an organization?
I think a lot of it, Mishmael, I've gone through in what I said. It's more or less the same thing that we're seeing when individuals report cases to HR. It's not too different. Should we be saying that because you're a high-ranking official or high-ranking leader that you are
I'm looking at MD, for instance.
MD, yes. The same policies and procedures, the employees, they're guided by that as well. So one of the first things we have to do again is back to what I said, confidentiality. We have cases happening where I'm sure organizations would have whistleblowing policies in place. And for me, whistleblowing in most cases may not necessarily help in this manner or in this matter. We have to encourage individuals. And again, that's part of what we're saying, encouraging through policies, procedures, through engagement sessions that we have with employees. We encourage them to speak up. Because an individual is a high-ranking leader does not exempt them from the fact that they are perpetrating or alleged to have perpetrated what is an inappropriate behavior or conduct. It's still not acceptable. So as HR again, is that boldness. A lot of times, again, let's go back to our code of conduct. We read the last line, and I hope I remember because I read this all the time, about resignation being an option. If there's anything in the course of your work that you find that you're not able to, should I say, stand up and actually defend your position, that's a last resort, I would say. But first and foremost is that I'm going to seek for help. If I've gone through ensuring that the case has been made confidential, it's also actually ensuring that you now call on the board of directors as an example. First, talk to the individual. You have to go through your thorough investigation. Because I am MD, for instance, I'll be reported to the board of directors. There's an allegation. There's nothing saying that I've actually perpetrated the act, but there's an allegation. So first and foremost, HR, for the high-ranking leaders, you would have to rely on your board. I'm sure for those that are in executive positions as HR directors, you would have a direct line to the board, and you would have to bring that out. Same, obviously, you may have to be looking at what we'd say administrative leave. That may be whilst the investigation is going on. I would normally advise back in core HR days that when we have situations like this, we remove the alleged individual person against whom the allegation is being made from the environment. One, not for them not to be able to interfere with the course of investigation, and two, for their own protection as well. So number one is you ensure that you are able to lean on your board of directors for support. That means we've built that relationship. They trust us for our professionalism. They trust us for in terms of our integrity, and they were also going to be respectful of the individuals concerned as well. Again, this is where our core values as CIPM comes in. We have a duty to provide a service to our members. You're going to be creative in how you deal with that particular case. It comes with a lot of creativity. It comes with a lot of using emotional intelligence. So there's self-awareness, there's self-regulation, so that you don't get involved emotionally and not be able to deal with the matter at hand. You're going to be respectful in how you deal with that. We're talking about a very senior member of staff here, which again, that person, if not found to have perpetrated the act, will be back at work. So how you deal with that situation also matters. Integrity as well. So in conducting your investigation, whether you're working with the board of directors or independent, and in some cases like this, I would always advise, get an independent investigator. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from that situation so that you're not seen to be biased, already prejudiced, either against the alleged perpetrator or the individual making the allegation. So we would say, involve maybe an independent investigator. It might be somebody again from your board. It might be that you engage someone independently. It might be somebody from the institute. You might decide that you want to lean on the institute for supporting this. This is why we're here. We're there to ensure that we have a few committees of council that actually deal with issues like this. We have the Professional Conduct and Ethics Committee. We have the Conflict and Mediation Resolution Committee as well. And these are individuals that are well seasoned. Some of them are legal practitioners that can provide that support. So again, we have that to support individuals or HR practitioners that would have to investigate high-ranking officers. But my last word on this, you are not exempt because you're an MD or CEO or director from being investigated. At the end of the day, you have and we have a duty of care, and I'll keep stressing that towards the employees that are come under our areas of responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam CEO, Registrar. HR practitioners and professionals have duty of care to ensure that such allegations are handled professionally and seek for help. I would like to ask our police PRO, Mr. Benjamin, what the assurance victim of bullying and harassment and violence are from the Nigerian police.
I think that's what assurance they have about what?
Yes, of no repercussion from the Nigerian police. If there's a reported case to Nigerian police, particularly something that happened beyond the workplace.
Well, to be sincere, that would be a difficult one. If you are talking about repercussion from our men, yes, we can to a large extent guarantee that. But if you are talking about repercussion from somebody out there, well, we can't be with you 24 hours a day. As you are there now, there's no police officer with you, and on your way home, no police escort and all that. So we can't really guarantee that. But if we are handling a case, we would make everybody understand the implication of taking laws into their hands. So if you want confidentiality, we can guarantee that. But in a case where you need to testify, there's nothing we can do about that. The suspect would know that, oh, this person reported me, because you also need to positively identify the suspect in court. Like, yes, this is the person that harassed me or bullied me. So you can't help it. But to now guarantee you that, oh, after the court case, after the person has been punished, that the person will not come and maybe attack you, we won't be able to do that. But we'll let the person know that if as a result of this, you go back to attack this person, there are consequences for that. So it's a bit dicey, but that's just the reality on ground.
It's a bit dicey, yeah. Thank you very much for that response. So now looking at it, the question, the topic of discussion is beyond the workplace. So the impact of it. So let's even look at the impact on the workplace. So that would be the next question. So our distinguished participants, please let's drop our questions in the chat room. We'll pick it by the time we get to the Q&A very shortly. But let me just ask, we have just maybe one or two areas that we need to trash on, because that is the major theme of today, the impact of it on employee well-being and performance. So I'll be asking the registrar CEO, what do you think are the direct and indirect impacts of employee well-being in the workplace?
Thank you. I think the first one I would say, it would be in terms of productivity, where an employee feels bullied, harassed at work, it would impact on productivity. The individual, you would find them coming into work. I'm sure we're all familiar with the term presenteeism. So they may not be absent from work because they're going through a traumatic situation. They'll be very present at work, but not really doing much in terms of being productive in deliverables. There is social withdrawal as well. I think one of the first things we find is people would recoil into their own shell. They go very quiet at work. You're wondering, this lively, bubbly individual, what exactly is happening here? They would normally engage in team meetings, offer and propose solutions, be very creative in projects, but then something is missing because they're no longer there. They're very quiet through meetings. They're not making contributions. You begin to see the delivery of the work lacking, either lots of errors coming through, missed deadlines, missed targets. They're not satisfied with what is going on, and they don't feel confident to come forward and either report that. So you'd see that happening. It also has an impact in terms of health, emotional well-being. I've seen cases in the past, maybe not in this country, where individuals have come to HR, past experience, and they go off sick. On investigation, they're off sick for a month, 2 months, and in other climes, we have sickness absence pay that could go on for months, full pay, as an example. But after a month or two, we have policies in place where we have to investigate. Upon investigation, the individual now, maybe you send them out on their EAP counseling programs as confidential, and they're encouraged to actually speak up and speak out. Come back and now actually say to you, the reason I've been off sick is because I've been bullied or harassed, either by my line manager, by a colleague, or whatever. And you now find the fact that being off sick is affecting them mentally, because you now get a sick note saying, I'm signing them off sick for a further 2 months due to work-related stress. And if you do find sick notes coming back with work-related stress, a lot of times it's not necessarily the workload. I think I should just point that out from cases that I've seen or worked with. It's not necessarily the workload. It's actually the fact that that individual is going through something else at work. And the easiest thing for their doctor or GP to write after they've done all that explanation to them is to say they're signing them off sick for work-related stress. So which is emotional distress. There are also health problems that could come with that. You find your employee coming up with, I'm having headaches all the time. Actually, I'm going to the hospital now. There's something wrong. They can't seem to put a finger on what is wrong with me. I've done all my blood work. So you'd know that there's something else going on. And again, this is where, again, the case of how we deal with things humanly as HR professional comes in. Not to make the assumption that that individual is just lazy and they don't want to do the work. There could be other issues going on for those individuals that they're not necessarily telling us. Then you find disengagement as well. The employee starts to disengage. They're actually on their way out, I would say to you. At that point, when they stop contributing, when they're going off sick, when they're not delivering work on time, you can be rest assured. Outside of that, they're already saying this is a toxic environment in which I do not want to work or continue to make contributions to. So they begin to disengage. And all those things I mentioned before are examples of how you would know that your employees are disengaging from you. And that is not good for the reputation of the HR person, actually, because I'll start with that, and for the organization itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar, for that very pointed response to that in terms of how we can see the direct and indirect impacts in monetary value too, beyond just the direct employee impacts, where it leads to resignations or low performance, or even beyond the workplace. So now, before I go to the general question that the panelists will be answering, I would like to just bring up a question, or some of the questions that our participants have dropped in the chat room. So number one question here, and this question will go to the registrar CEO. The question here from an anonymous attendee is that the rate of expatriate verbal harassment and bullying is alarming in private organizations. And we as HR managers had nothing to do about it because most private organization HR department in Nigeria is being headed by expatriates, which I believe is against the law. As a body of HR professional in Nigeria, what is the institute doing to curb this? I am a victim of this despite being a senior HR manager. Thank you. Registrar, you want to
I'm
attempt the
here.
question?
I'm going to attempt it. Wow. Okay. This is where our role as a regulatory body for HR comes in very strongly as well. I'm hoping the individual that dropped the question, I don't know if you're, like you said, they're headed by expatriates. And so maybe you need to drop us a further message so we can come out and visit you and encourage them to become members of CIPM. For us as an institute, we would always say we do not tolerate cases of bullying, harassment, and would expect that where this is being perpetrated within the organization and HR is not doing anything about it, it's reported to the institute for our members, and they come under code of conduct, they come under professional conduct and ethics, and also professional discipline according to our charter. In a case where the individual are not members of CIPM, it doesn't mean that we're going to be quiet. We expect that again that you report the case to us. Let's come in and actually have conversations with the individuals. We have to, whether they're members or not, we still have that duty to support you as our members. And again, I think that boldness I'm talking about also is the boldness for the institute to say, whilst you may not be a member of the institute, we have members that work with you that do not feel that they're working in a safe environment. Would have the legal backup to actually do something about it. So you may not be our member where we can actually say under our procedures, under our conduct policies, we are able to deal with that, but we can actually come in and say we want to take up a legal case against you. Because again, it is not for us to say we do not want our members to condone bullying and harassment, and then we're individuals or organizations are being reported to us and we're not doing anything. So this is where our regulatory powers would come in, and we'll be saying, number one, actually, I have to say, the individuals that are practicing HR in Nigeria without being members of CIPM are actually breaking the law. The law and the charter says that you have to be certified practice HR in Nigeria, and the charter gives us that right to actually handle and deal with such matters. So we've just had a regulatory and compliance committee inaugurated. So we've been doing a lot of approach of carrots and encouraging members. These are value propositions, membership value propositions. But now we are in a situation like the example cited here, where we have individuals that may think, well, I'm not covered by what CIPM does, so I'm exempt. We want to be able to say, yes, you're covered, because number one, you shouldn't even be practicing HR without being members of CIPM, certified by us to practice HR. So what I would say to encourage the individual is bring these cases to us. We have the ethics committee, and I can see another question dropping, which is similar to what I'm answering now, and we would take it from there. We cannot continue to tolerate this happening in expatriate companies, and this has been going on for years. So we encourage you, please come forward and let's take a stand together on this. Thank you. So
Thank you
please
very
report.
much. Yes, please report and please speak up and collaborate with the institute. So another question on this very, very topical issue in the chat room is from Basi Inseobong. Does authoritarian parenting style on a child affect the individual who is now a manager to become a bully? I'll let our lawyer attend this question briefly. Hello, Madam Miriam. Hello? Oh. Okay. Okay, so maybe the registrar would want to attend this question. I don't seem to hear anything from Madam Miriam. Does authoritarian parenting style on a child affect the individual? I think we've answered this stylishly,
Okay.
but maybe
Sorry, my internet, Mr. Gani, sorry,
Okay,
my internet
no.
connection was disrupted. Can you quickly recap?
The question is, does authoritarian parenting style on a child affect the individual who is now a manager to become a bully?
Like I said earlier on, human beings, we are emotional beings. And whatever we've gotten while growing up during our developmental stages in life tends to be with us, except we as humans, or except that person decides to do away with such character. So I would go in affirmation with that, because the way we are wired up, we learn from what we have experienced. There is this general statement that experience is the best teacher. To some extent, that is true. In the essence that what one experience in life growing up would have some kind of impact and would define such a person. Now, for someone who lived in a toxic environment growing up, where the father harasses the mother, either verbally or sexually,
Okay, I guess we have lost Madam Miriam. The network from our end. Okay, you're back. Yes, your microphone. Put on your microphone. Yes.
as I was saying, you can't place something on nothing and expect it to stand. So for children who lived in an environment that was abusive growing up, they tend to replicate that to others in their adult stage of life. So that's why I canvass for intentional parenting, that as parents, we should endeavor, every human who happens to be endowed to have children should endeavor, even leaving aside whatever you have in person, you have to impart those values, those core social values that are needed for social cohabitation, for social cohesion. And for that to start, it starts from the family, because the family is the nucleus of every society. So like I said, I would align to that statement of yours that to a large percentage, employers who are, I would use the word employers, or people, as much as they, or people when they get older, they tend to replicate what their social orientation from their background presented to them while growing up. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Because of our time, we may not be able to take much on the chat in the chat room, but maybe we'll give our audience maybe one or two to speak if they have any question to the panelists. I will just recognize maybe one or two because of our time. If there is any question or contribution to this discussion so far, we can take. Otherwise, I'll go to my last question to the panelists. Beyond the workplace, what are the impacts? I know that we have all made allusion to what it is outside the workplace in terms of how the person tends to relate with people and his or her cycle. But we want it to be very, very clear-cut in terms of more specific now. And this will go to each of the panelists before our time runs out. So I'll start with the police PRO. So beyond the workplace, do you want to maybe, based on your experience and what you've witnessed, what are the impacts of bullying, harassment, and violence beyond the workplace?
Yes. Thank you. Most times it has psychological damage to people. People don't recover quickly. Even after they change their workplace, they have a very good boss, they have this PTSD. So it has far-reaching implications. And that's why organizations should have counseling units so that before things get worse, they can actually approach these counseling units to get some words of advice and encouragement. So that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen actually in my own job. That people who have been bullied tend to carry the scar for a long time, if not forever. So we need to guard against this so that it doesn't cause psychological damage, like I've said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The impact beyond the workplace, psychological damage. Maybe I'll just quickly chip in this question. Some people feel that when they see police, they get scared. Subtle harassment. What do you think the Nigerian police?
I'm sorry, you went off for some seconds.
So I said, when people, I just want to chip this in. When people see police in uniform, they get scared without doing anything. Because they are sometimes they feel that it's a subtle harassment, even though the policeman may not directly be doing that. What do you think can be done? Mere seeing a policeman and people get scared or get
sadly, that's just a good example of what I've described. You know, some of these people have seen police do nasty things to people, or they've heard stories, so they have that scar, if I could say. It's also a mild form of PTSD. You see a policeman and you're scared. You see a doctor and you remember the last injection you took. So for those people, it's not, thank God.
Hello?
We hope to have a more.
Hello? Mr. Benjamin, can you hear me?
I think it's coming
I'm
back.
sorry, I went off and I'm back.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I'm sorry, I went off and I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So basically, we hope to have a more friendly police force, which we are working on at the moment, so that over time, people can heal. And when they see police, they will be at ease and know that a friend and help is by the way, and not the way you described.
Yes, thank you very much. Police is our friend. So going to the law, what maybe in 30 seconds, the impact of bullying, harassment, and violence outside the workplace?
Is that so for me?
No, to our lawyer, Mrs. Miriam.
Okay.
10 seconds.
The impact of bullying, harassment, and violence
beyond the workplace.
Beyond the workplace is far-reaching. These three vices are interconnected. Like I said, we humans, we are social and emotional beings. So when such occurrences happen at the workplace, for instance, you can see a woman who is being bullied at the workplace, in the workplace, coming home, there'll be some transfer of aggression, either to the husband or to the children. That psychological trauma is there. It affects her total well-being. It affects the family to the extent that there are cases of divorce we have handled in our organization because of lack of interest. The woman suddenly seems not interested in anything, and such might be tied to workplace violence or workplace victimization. They also, and this have a ripple effect, like Mr. Hundeyin said, it has a ripple effect in every facet of life of a victim, because such a victim, who, for instance, is a mother, would not be in that joyful state to even take care of the home. And what happens? The implication is that such children happen to be misfit in the society. Then there is also the issue on the health of victims. Okay. There is a long-term issue of health issues, chronic stress, and mental health, leading to sometimes suicidal thoughts coming in. And such persons, because they are unhappy, they tend to decide to end their lives abruptly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you've wrapped it up with that. I wouldn't know if this registrar, our time is up. I'm just going to end with the registrar CEO. If she has additional points on the impact of these social devices outside the workplace? Just to wrap up.
Thank you, moderator. I think this has been captured beautifully. My one word was transferred aggression, and Ngozi mentioned it. But I thought I'll just finish with this statistics. Having said everything we have said, that 29.5% of Nigerians have faced workplace violence and harassment during their professional tenure. The statistics surpasses the global average of 20.9%. So, and it's also the reports, which is the Gallup and Lloyd's Register Foundation's report. They had a poll conducted, and they came up with that statistics. And the report also highlighted the fact that a significant 69.1% of Nigerians experiencing workplace violence have reported that it has occurred on 3 or more occasions. That is significant. That is high.
Yeah.
That goes back to us as HR professionals in the workplace to say, what are we going to do about this? Are we just going to sit back and say, that's okay, it's not affecting me? I saw somebody drop a comment on there that with this amount of statistics and everybody saying that at one point or time in their lives, they must have experienced bullying, harassment, or violence, whether in the workplace or outside of the workplace. So what do we do as a result of that? We cannot condone this. We cannot continue like this. We have to be bold. We have to speak up, and we have to be intentional. That's my last word. Intentional in how we ourselves actually, all individuals, whether HR professionals and even beyond, conduct ourselves in the workplace and be very self-aware and self-regulate and actually apply emotional intelligence in all our dealings in and out of work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar and all panelists. The time is 4:32. I'm not sure I have enough time to do justice to this. If we are permitted, we'll go till evening to discuss this topic. So I think our Deputy Registrar, I think I can drop the discussion at this point, unless you want to permit me to further. There are a lot of questions in the Q&A. I'm a civil servant. I face constant bullying at my workplace, which is affecting my well-being and productivity. I've reported and nothing is done. I'm thinking of resigning. What should I do? A lot of questions here that time will not permit us to look at. So except I have the permission of the Deputy Registrar. So at this point, I would like to thank my panelists, if I have no more time, for doing justice to this topic. I'll hand over the affairs of this webinar to the Deputy Registrar, Mr. Odetunde. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our amiable moderator, for that wonderful moderation and coordination. And for the last question you asked, what shall I do? I've been harassed every time, every now and then. Please, you can report to the Institute. Registrar has mentioned it. The Institute is there for you. The Institute is enabled by the Act of Parliament, to regulate the practice of human resource management. So it's part of the regulatory power of the Institute. Report to the Institute through the Office of the Registrar Chief Executive. Thank you very much. At this point, we want to just put some adverts to us before we close. Over to you.
Hello, my dear esteemed professional colleagues and members of the public. I am delighted to personally invite you to the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM's 56th International Conference and Exhibition. From October 14th to 17th, 2024, we will gather at the Chida Event Center in Abuja for a conference centered on the theme Managing Businesses and People for Resilience. This year, we have an assemblage of remarkable speakers and thought leaders who will share invaluable insights and strategies to help you build resilience in your organizations and personal career. Whether you are interested in cutting-edge management techniques, or innovative people practices, the ICE 2024 has something for everyone. In addition to the thought-provoking content, you will have the chance to network with industry experts and peers from around the world. It's an unparalleled opportunity to connect, to learn, and to grow. In addition to the discounts on the conference fees, we are offering a 20% discount on flight fares with Airpeace for all our paid delegates. With this, you can be sure of an affordable and smooth travel experience. I encourage you to take part in this landmark event. Register now and join us in Abuja for a conference that promises to inspire and to empower you to lead with resilience. I look forward to seeing you at ICE 2024. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being here. We have our upcoming event, our radio talk show, tomorrow, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Please tune to our radio station, Lagos Talk 91.3 FM. Our 57th induction holds September 5, 2024. Please, if you are yet to register as a prospective inductee, please, the window is still open at the moment. Please ensure that you do that. Then our September diet examination holds September 13 to 14, 2024. Registration is still ongoing. Please, if you are yet to register, please, you can do so now. And if you are finding it difficult to register online, please do not hesitate to contact us. We can guide you through on how to do it. As you have listened to the video advert, our international conference and exhibition comes up October 14 to 17, 2024 at Chida Event Center, Abuja. So please be there. See you there. On this note, we want to thank everybody, right from Mr. President and Chairman of the Governing Council to leadership team. Thank you very much for providing the guide and taking the lead to ensure that we have a very successful outing today. And let me go to our panelists, starting from Ngozi Miriam Arinze. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for telling us various laws against violence, bullying, and harassment. I know from now that we are aware and all the participants are well informed that going forward, if anybody harasses them, that person is doing so at his or her own risk, because people are going to take advantage of the law. Thank you very much. Mr. Adwei Benjamin, thank you. You have said a lot, especially when you mentioned the need to put in place preventive measures for avoiding violence, harassment, and bullying. Thank you very much. My Registrar Chief Executive, Mr. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, thank you for reminding us about our duty of care as professionals to ensure appropriate action and reaction on matters relating to the topic of today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you told us the impact of bullying and harassment on well-being and productivity of employees. And thank you very much. Thank you. Our moderator, we want to say very big thank you, Mr. Ismail Ganiu. Thank you for moderating well. You know, if you are moderating, moderate very, very well. And to the HQ team for putting this together, I want to say very big thank you. And to all our participants, without you, there won't be us here. Thank you for making yourself available. Thank you very much. At this point, I will hand over to the National Treasurer for the closing remark. National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu, MCIPM, over to you.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Please, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Okay,
Yes,
good
we
evening,
can hear
everyone.
you.
Okay, thank you so much. Sincerely, this session has just been a very good one. Thank you. Just like our Deputy Registrar appreciated all our panelists. I wouldn't want to go into appreciation again. Mine is to give the closing remarks. And I would just say this well, that this afternoon we've learned so much about what the impact of harassment, bullying, and violence on employee performance and well-being. All the panelists have spoken so much, and there are a lot of learnings we have taken as professionals. All I would just say to us is that please, these learnings should not just be one of those takeaways that when we get there, we are afraid to go put them into practice. I think we all have the collective decision to make our workplaces good. We have the collective decision to make the changes that will bring about positive results. And to a larger extent, it will trickle down to the society. I wouldn't want to talk about a video clip I watched yesterday where some certain group of employees were celebrating the fact that maybe somebody at the apex position was being removed. Let's not live about that one. And I asked myself a lot of questions, and it's part of what we have discussed this afternoon. Please, as professionals, let's get back, go put these things into practice so that our society and our workplaces can become better place. And for everyone, I would like to say this part of the value adds that CIPM brings to us every month. You know, you wouldn't tell me if we are to go have this as training somewhere else, or maybe attend it in other organization, training organizations. I know what this would cost us, but we've had it this afternoon. And want to say that we want to appreciate the leadership of CIPM for bringing this together and for adding value to our members. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to hosting you again in the next edition of Cipm You series. And most importantly, on behalf of the President and the Chairman of the Governing Council, Malem Ahmed Ladan Gobri, FCIPM, we look forward to receiving everyone that is on this call at Abuja come October 12 to 14 for us to have the ICE conference this year and add more value to ourselves. Without further ado, I bring this meeting to a close. Thank you and have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam National Treasurer. Shall we all rise as we close with our national anthem?
My panelists, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you,
you.
Madam C.
You.
Okay,
Right.
VP, we
Thank you,
allow
our
you to talk.
moderator. Thank you, National Treasurer.
Thank you,
All
our Vice
panelists.
Presidents.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Madam
Thank
Registrar.
you so much.
Well done,
Mr.
Madam
Daniel,
Miriam.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.
Auntie
Miriam.
Ngozi,
Please let's now go back to
Auntie
our
Ngozi.
please let's talk. How was it? I hope it just us now.
you still have audience, so
We are
you
still
have
here,
2 other
oh,
people listening to
Esther.
you.
But don't worry, it was beautiful.
I've already formed a bond with you people. I don't know, being a lawyer, I don't know if I have a place in your
You're
organization.
becoming a member of CIPM.
Definitely.
Immediately.
Mrs.
Is that okay?
Arinze.
Who is talking? Is that Tony?
Immediately.
It's not the registrar talking.
Okay.
We're
Well,
bringing you into
I'm quite
CIPM.
impressed, and I learned a whole lot.
Thank you.
Please, I think I'll be tuning in whether I'm a panelist or not. I will follow you people now everywhere.
Awesome.
Please
you.
come along
But
with
we're
us.
bringing you in as a member. Margaret will be in touch.
No worries.
So chase me if they
doing
don't do anything, but you're coming in as a member.
No worries. I will do that.
All right.
I'm going in for chartered mediators. Then after that, I think I will think in line with yours now. I will do
Thank
that
you.
so that I will
We're
learn a
doing it
lot. Even
together.
though, yes, I will just have to. I'm quite impressed from the executive or from your presidents, everything, the way everything was lined out and the way they were just moving, and the mission, your mission statements. Indeed,
Yeah.
it's something that everybody, in fact, if it's possible, like I used to tell people, if it's possible that every woman should undergo education as a degree, I think it's also very important that everybody, male, female, should, if it's possible, but I know it's very expensive, for people to go under, to understudy personal management, because it cuts across not just
CIPM. Yeah.
it's also
You have become chief marketer, Ngozi.
Ah,
Already.
That's why we're bringing her in.
We
Madam
like
VP.
this.
Madam VP,
Already.
we're bringing her in.
No, she immediately now. You can see that she's talking like one of us. She's a born HR
We're
person.
going to see FIDA. Mrs. Arinze,
Yes.
arrange for us. We're coming to see you at FIDA, please.
No worries. You speak to our chairperson. You people can come along. Yes, some FIDA members, some of these institutes, like chartered mediators. It's not strictly for lawyers. So they came and they advertised, and I'm going in, and it's not as if the money is cheap. It's not cheap, but the knowledge you will get, and also the profit that will come thereafter as a mediator. Yeah, the things you look at, the payment of the one-off payment will not really. It will not as in compared to what you are going to gain afterwards. I think it's 200,000 for chartered mediators, anyways. I don't know for your own organization how much. Nobody's responding. All right.
Okay, you said what?
We're here
So
with you.
I said for chartered mediators, I wanted to know the financial implication for yours.
No,
Can it
we'll
be
go
made
offline on that. We'll go
online?
offline.
Okay.
Let's talk to
Oh,
He
Margaret.
said we'll talk to
Oh,
you.
don't worry. I
Yeah.
like what I
Oh, don't
saw.
worry,
And
we're actually committed to bringing you in.
Yes.
So
You are sounding like Miss Tony, but she's off.
No,
I'm the one
Tony is
talking.
here. Tony is here. That's the voice you keep hearing, but this is the voice of Chidi, the VP, the vice president. But Tony is also talking with you here.
That's good. She's quite.
So the laugh you hear is Tony's laugh.
No worries. I guess we'll meet on other platforms, be it CIPM, and I wish us all good tidings.
All right. Thank you very much.
So well done, Madam
Thank you
Ngozi.
for having me.
You made
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Ganiu.
You made it.
Thank you.
You made it. I didn't harass anybody with questions, so I was
But
just.
Mr. Ganiu.
No, I felt harassed by you because everything was to me.
It was dealing with questions.
Because you are the registrar. But at the point I turned off you now. At least I gave you some breather.
No, the fact that you really channel, but that's good. Is our platform. Even the questions you streamlined for me, my own specifics. One of them you asked her, and she did so wonderfully well. It shows she has her onions. You see, I was telling you that if there's anybody, yeah, You did so very well. I hope I at least made some impact.
Yeah, very well.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You made a lot of impact, plenty impact. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I hope to improve more. Thank you for having me. All right.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
You too. Bye.
There is a question here that says, is there a WhatsApp group for people who intend to join through practitioners route? If you please reach out to the institute. It's not a WhatsApp group per se, but once you reach out, check our website. And I don't know, can we reach out to him, please? Lucia, or to her, Lucia Oshioma.
Okay, we'll do that, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Registrar, we can end the meeting. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. At this junction, we will end the meeting now. Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Do have a wonderful evening. We love you and we appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye. Madam Gazi, bye. We'll talk later. Ismail, we are glad to see you. I know one day has